Oh, thank you.
See,
I,
okay,
I'm ready when you are.
perfect. Good evening and welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Sahuarita Unified School District Governing Board. Please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We will move into the roll call. Ms. Palacios.
Governing Board President Denise Reese.
Here.
Governing Board Clerk Dr. John Sparks. Governing Board Member Anthony Bruno.
Present.
Governing Board Member Amy Petersmark.
Present.
Governing Board Member Raul Rodriguez.
Present.
District Administration Superintendent Dr. Manuel Valenzuela.
Present.
Chief Financial Officer Lisette Huey.
present.
Assistant Superintendent Darlene Robinson.
Present.
Assistant Superintendent Scott Downs, absent.
Thank you very much. We will move into the approval of the agenda. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. President Reese, members of the board, at this time I do recommend approval of this evening's agenda as it was revised.
We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second. It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will move on to the approval of the minutes. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. President Reese, members of the board, this evening in your packets, you have draft copies of the minutes from the past meeting of the board, the regular meeting back on June 25th, 2025. And after review and consideration, I do recommend approval at this time.
We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The superintendent reports. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Reese. Members of the board, it's always my pleasure to share happenings around the district. And I've said after all these many, many years of doing this important work that once the 4th of July has passed, the acceleration and the move toward the new year only quickens. And that could not be further from the truth right now. In fact, I was informed by President Reese this week that band camp begins next week. We're still in the middle of July. Lots of projects going on around the district with a primary emphasis at this time on paint. There's painters all over the place, and we're glad to give our schools the very needed renewal and revitalization that they need to, again, keep them in really good shape for the future. A lot of work. If you see a lot of poles and big light bulbs and lights, we're making lighting improvements on many of the outdoor facilities, stadiums, fields. And of course, right now we're on that time crunch because the school year is almost upon us. As a matter of fact, I got a nice message from Coach Gilardi. He put it on his, I think it was on his team Facebook. Said, thank you. Thank you, SUSD 30. New lights at the Mustang Baseball Complex. And he has a tremendous amount of pride in that facility and has put a lot in it over the years. So we look forward to these new state-of-the-art lights. And I also want to tell you about how these resources that our community is extremely generous with are not only used, but even reinvented and reused. That big screen there is actually a previous model, a previous vintage. I think it's a 65-inch LG. It was kind of the interactive flat panels before we kind of launched them district-wide every single place. And believe it or not, those things have a limited shelf life. And so there's security things and stuff where we had to kind of not only take them away for that reason, but also we now have 75-inch modern LG as part of our bond package in all of our classrooms. That is the Sahuarita standard. But these, instead of being put on for public auction, they have tremendous value for other purposes. I think professional development, administration, presentations. And so they've been repurposed for other functions. I think this one is in the Student Records Management Office. And there's others in different places, professional development. And so we use every resource to the highest degree and in the most creative way possible. Thank you, Mr. Villa, for that. And lastly, you often hear me say the word Sahuarita shines, and I use that as kind of a phrase to represent how together as a community, students, staff, community, we help children to grow and to succeed and hopefully to reach the potential of their dreams, whatever those dreams might be. And every time our student gets into college, achieves a state championship, achieves something great, I always, as you know, I often say, Sahuarita shines, Sahuarita shines. And I have another Sahuarita shines minute, and I'll give you the backstory real quick. So if you've been around as long as a few of us have, you remember a young man named Ian Mejia, Sahuarita High School class of 2018. Ian was a very talented baseball player, but even more than that, just a really nice kid, really nice young man. Last time I saw him was this spring. He was here helping out our team, working with our kids, but he's very talented. He was drafted, I think, in the 35th round by the New York Mets. Turned it down, I think, to go play baseball. Got his degree, went to New Mexico State, got drafted again by the Atlanta Braves, has been working hard in pursuit of his dream, was having a lot of success this year. Just today, I've been keeping up with him, and I saw that he was playing for, he's in the Atlanta Braves organization, and he was picked up from the AA called the Columbus Clingstones, as in peaches, which makes sense in Georgia, right? And he was just elevated to, he had like 8 wins, 1 loss. He was doing great. They moved him up to the Gwinnett Stripers. They have interesting names. And so this is the top team before the actual Atlanta Braves. And I have a little 20-second clip. And make sure you hit the sound because the announcer is kind of good for the effects. It's only like 20 seconds. Roll it, Amber. Oh, there it is.
And misses, and he's gone. Right-hander kicks and deals. Pratt waves and misses, and now the 0-2. Warren strikes out, swinging. 0-2. Restituyo swipes and misses, still getting guys out. 2-2. Warren swings and misses. He's got 5 tonight. His 1-2. Wave and a miss. He's got 6. Right-hander sets. The 0-2. Bovee strikes out, swinging. Number 7 for Ian Mejia.
Isn't that cool? When they shine, we shine, right? Maybe you'll be in the major leagues yet. We keep our hopes up. And thank you for the time. I yield my report. Yield the floor back to you, President Reese.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the governing board reports. Dr. Sparks.
Thank you very much, Madam President. This evening, I am going to defer my report to move forward with the.
Okay, Mr. Rodriguez.
Representative Consuelo Hernandez and Representative Rachel Keschel for helping, for sitting down and listening to me about my daughter's story. I really appreciate that they drafted some legislation that should be very beneficial to the students and parents of the state of Arizona. And like you said a little while ago, tomorrow, if everything goes according to plan, I should be grandpa.
Mr. Bruno.
Gonna also follow suit here and pass.
Okay. Ms. Petersmark.
Dr. Valenzuela said summer is flying, so I just want to wish everyone the last couple weeks of summer, they hope they have a great time and everybody to be safe. So thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And then for my part, just good luck as band camps get started and the sports camps continue. And continue to have a safe summer and try not to get too hot as we wind our way before these rains start and cool us off again. So thank you very much. We do not have any recognition this evening. We do have a call to the public. Dr. Sparks.
Thank you very much. In-person guidelines, consideration and discussion of comments and concerns from the public. Those wishing to address the governing board may do so at this time or at the board's discretion at the time the item appears on the agenda. All speakers are requested to hold their comments to 2 minutes or less. 20 minutes will be allowed for both online and in-person comments in accordance with open meeting law. Board members may not respond, comment, or ask questions of speakers regarding issues not on the agenda. Any comments not read during the agenda item will still be entered into the public record. And we have a local resident volunteer affiliated with the Save the Scenic Sahuaritas, Nina Luxembourg, to speak about traffic, which is not on the agenda.
Thank you. 40,000 truck trips are estimated from a 12-year-old environmental report to travel between the mountains and I-19 by way of Sahuarita Road, hauling copper concentrate, hazardous chemicals, explosives, and according to HUD-Bay's master plan, millions of tons of sulfuric acid. That's 110 truck trips a day or one truck every 15 minutes, 24/7. During the current exploratory phase of Copper World, trucks traveling from I-19 are so wide they must turn into the oncoming traffic lane to turn in onto Santa Rita Road, barely missing vehicles. This is an accident waiting to happen with a school bus. HUD Bay is not required to disclose truck traffic information because Copper World will be on privately owned land, and they recently told a Tucson newspaper it's too soon to provide, quote, precise traffic estimates. It's not too soon. The public needs and has a right to know. What is the projected number of traffic accidents, injuries, fatalities? How much air pollution, noise pollution, light pollution interfering with our dark skies? How much rotten egg odors from sulfuric acid cargo? ADOT's proposed Sonoran corridor will bypass Sahuarita Road by about 1 mile. No money for construction has yet been appropriated and could be years and years away. In the meantime, do we want to risk a major accident between a Copper World truck and a school bus or train with the release of hazardous materials and turn our town into another Palestine, Ohio? And with only 1 mile difference, we would still be at risk for the adverse effects of inhaling exhaust diesel fumes from the Copper World trucks, plus from all of the out-of-state trucks wanting to cut their east-west travel time between I-10 and I-19. Air pollution is the second leading cause of lung cancer and the 6th leading root cause of death and disease worldwide. We don't want our children being turned down from sports events because of asthma. We don't want our children to die of cancer from childhood exposure to air pollution. Did you know cancer is now the leading cause of death in the United States in young adults between 15 and 39? Neither the state, Pima County, nor the town of Sahuarita have released even a rudimentary traffic impact study, while HUD Bay remains silent. But we shouldn't be silent. I ask you not to be fooled by HUD-based slick ads and donations to our community events. They place profits over people. It's not too late to win the fight against this copper mine with 4 open pits, projected to be the 4th largest in the United States. Please check out our website to learn all the facts. For the sake of our children's safety and health, we need to save our town from becoming a toxic wasteland. I'm Nina Luxembourg, volunteer for Save the Scenic Sahuaritas, resident of Sahuarita Highlands, and a local physician. And with our school buses hitting the road soon, I think this was the best time to tell you how concerned I am about the negative impact of heavy truck traffic from the proposed 4 open mine pit called Copper World. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to the new business, the 2025-26 301 pay plan. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Reese, members of the board, and public. I would ask you to think back to the last meeting where Mrs. Robinson presented the academic goals for the Prop 301. This is kind of in follow-up to that, and it is related. We were focusing on the academic goals. It's part of a broader Prop 301 plan. In revisiting that, I did notice that I think the actual plan was included in your packet last time, but I'm going to ask you to allow me to just request your recommendation of the plan once again. So as you remember, the Prop 301 was approved by the voters of the state of Arizona, I think back in like 2000. And it's a 0.6 cent sales tax to support education. The main comment I want to make is our board, and I say this with gratitude and appreciation, has always been of the mindset and vision that although there are some choices and some discretion on how some of these funds are used, our board has always prioritized providing opportunities for this to go toward the compensation of teachers as allowable. And so with that, I've asked Mrs. Robinson, Assistant Superintendent Robinson, to provide a concise, brief summary of the components of the plan before I ask you to approve it. Mrs. Robinson.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Valenzuela, members of our district cabinet, and of course our community. As Dr. V stated, this to a last board meeting regarding our performance pay plan for our certified personnel. At our last meeting, we spoke about and approved one portion of it, which equals 33% of the entire 100% of the performance plan, where the last approval had 3 sections, about 11% of that total funding. What we're looking at today to for your consideration is our performance pay plan that equals 100% of the total monies. Again, last board meeting, our professional growth goal equaled 33% of that total 100. The other 33%, which is the equal to the largest amount of percentage that is associated with the 301 incentive, is the actual evaluation of the certified employee. 12% goes to our dropout rate, 12% goes to attendance rates, and 10% goes to the completion of our parent-student survey, equaling 100% of the total allotment for the performance pay plan using 301 funds.
Is that all?
That is correct.
Thank you, ma'am. And again, I just want to reiterate that and thank the board for your vision and your support of allowing this money to go toward the investment in our people, specifically our teachers. The plan is aligned with goals. The things that are on there are aligned with goals. The performance pay, the academic goals have to do with academic proficiency in accordance with our standards and our program. The other piece is personalized, individualized, or site-based investments in professional growth, professional programs, things of that order. And yet, at the same time that it is aligned in that way, it's also reasonable in terms of the standards that will support progress, but also allowing teachers to be successful. So it's kind of a balance. And again, it's basically the same plan as we've had for multiple years in structure and scope. So I would ask the board to approve the Proposition 301 performance pay plan as it was described and presented this evening.
We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Darlene, for our pay plan, is it aligned with other districts, or are we maybe the same or a little bit better? Or
As far as the varied litmus test of different components of our profession, where it comes with an evaluation of the actual instruction, its implementation of our curriculum, our pacing calendar, et cetera. In addition to that, the professional growth incentive piece and, excuse me, and also playing a progressive and positive reinforcement for keeping students at school. And we do that through motivation, active participation, engaging lessons, establishing relationships. Same with attendance rates that will capture communication with families, establishing and strengthening relationships with families. And then also being vulnerable and using data like our occupational health inventory to celebrate what we're doing well and to focus on the areas that we can grow upon. This is a very similar model that I had as a classroom teacher in a different district. It had a lot of those main components, but I will say from district to district, especially now in my own studies, we have all those components. It just might look like a different model dependent on that district's culture and climate.
Any other questions or concerns?
Madam President,
Yes.
I think we haven't had a discussion in a long time about 301 money. So maybe at some point in the future,
Yeah.
we just have a presentation on how the concept of what 301 money is and how it's spent. And because I think as a district, we're pretty consistent. It doesn't get rolled into our general budget. It stays with teachers. But there are many districts that don't do it that way. They just kind of roll it in and say we meet the minimum 20% for the baseline, and they just kind of lump it together. So just because I think not only for the public's benefit, but also for teachers' benefits and people's benefits, it might be nice to have a conversation at some point in time with you. Just a quick
Kind of quick
presentation.
update.
Because I think that, because your question, while it didn't have to do with that directly, I think it just made me think because we're one of the few districts actually, from my understanding, that wholly hold that 301 money out for pay. I mean, lots of them apply it toward pay, benefits, incentives. I mean, you can use it in a lot of ways. And so I think that would be good to have a public conversation about.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Any other questions or? So, and I'm just going to reiterate too, again, that I just appreciate that the goals here are truly attainable by the professionals we have employed here. And when this money first came about, and this is something that, if you're not overly familiar with educational legislation in the state of Arizona, but when it first came out, there was a lot of talk about incentivizing test scores to teachers and making that a part of their performance pay and things like that. And it created a lot of fear actually in the teaching profession for a long time about, okay, but if I have a kid that has a bad day and it drags everyone's scores down because you're looking at averages and that's the way that works, am I not going to get, despite the fact that I have, I can show growth in other areas. It was sort of the first line of looking at high stakes testing and what that was meaning and to have it directly tied to incentive pay and things like that. And I've truly appreciated this on so many different levels, that it truly feels attainable by our teachers. So thank you again. So any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We'll move on to new business, the adult meal price increase. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Reese, members of the board. As long as I've been around here, and I know as long as some of you have been around here, and Lizette, I know, knows for sure that every time we talk about raising prices for anything that affects our kids especially, but our staff also, whether it's fees or lunch prices, I always look at it with a very critical eye. We really try and be as resourceful as we can, and we try and avoid it as much as we can. This one, I want to stress, first of all, this has nothing to do with our students or our already authorized and approved meal prices, full meal prices for our students. In fact, I also want to stress that this is not even a request that is initiated, well, it's initiated by us, but not because we're otherwise wishing to do so. It's based upon our requirements under participation in the National School Meals Program and rules that are in place. I'm going to ask Lizette just to kind of give a brief summary of what this is, which meals are affected, how much, just so that you have kind of some basic understanding. Lizette?
Thank you, Dr. V. So basically what it is every year we have to go through, it's called a paid lunch equity form. And basically that is because we participate in the National School Lunch Program, which is a federal funded program. And it covers all of the pricing for the free and reduced students. So with rising cost, why they have us do the paid lunch equity tool, it's because they want to make sure that we're not subsidizing any federal funds to people who don't qualify. So anybody from paid lunch and including our staff. So they don't want to include, so for tonight's meeting, it's only for our adult meals. Again, there's not a lot of staff members that utilize our lunch program, but there is still a significant amount. And our goal is always to keep it as low as possible. They want us to increase it substantially, but I just look at the bare minimum. What is the bare minimum that we have to meet to be in compliant?
Bless you.
Bless you. To be in compliant, and the bare minimum is 20 cents for lunch and 5 cents for breakfast. Lunch is more popular, but even at that price, you still can't get a Happy Meal at McDonald's or run down the street anywhere at that price. Again, like Dr. Valenzuela mentioned, it's more of a have to, not because we want to, but we have to be in compliant. So in order for us to qualify, one of the regulations for NSLP is that we make sure that our paid school student lunches are not being subsidized by the federal government. In addition to that, the same thing for our adult meals as well. And so this will meet the compliance for this next year.
And could you highlight the amount?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. Let me get it again. I didn't have it up. So the recommendation for tonight's request is, again, like I mentioned, it would go 5 cents higher than it's currently. Oh, hold on one second.
385.
For lunch.
5 cents for, yes, 5 cents for, sorry, I'm getting the little thing for, if I can move this over. There it is.
You got it?
Yes,
Okay.
adult breakfast is $2.30. It's currently $2.25, so there's a 5 cents. And then adult lunch is $3.85, and it's currently $3.65. So that's a 20-cent difference in lunch.
And with that, I would recommend the board's approval of these adult meal prices as presented.
We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. We'll move into the new business policy revision GCCB. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And I think I'm pleased to share that we are moving to the point of, at least for the moment, being updated on our ASBA policy advisory revisions, although I do have another file to look through on my desk. It just continues. But just to remind the board, since this is a second reading, this first one, GCCB, it's really two, this first one is the one that I mentioned that it has to do with sick leave and personal leave, and it's really changing our policy to reflect accurately our practice and our other policies, which is that at the end of the day, if a teacher has not used his or her personal leave, plus requested to transfer them to the next year, and has the highest evaluation level in accordance with that plan, that individual could have up to 7 days, and the policy currently says 5. So the recommendation is just to move that 5 to 7 to be reflective and accurate of our current practice. And so this is second read, and I would recommend approval of that revision as presented.
We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we'll move on to Policy Advisory Volume 37, Number 2. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, President Reese, members of the board. And I would just begin by reminding you that the overwhelming majority of Volume 37, Number 2 was a big batch advisory from ASBA. The board's already approved the overwhelming majority of it. We're talking about 2 regulations from that advisory. One is BGER. The other one is BIBAR. Both of them have no substantive change. I think that one of them had to do with travel, But really, there's not even a change in the substance. It's strictly change in wording based on new laws or new organization of those policies. So I would, at this point, recommend the board's approval of these two regulations contained in Advisory Volume 37, Number 2, as presented.
We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, last item under this, or last item under this heading is the GMP of SUSD Central Cafeteria Electrical Upgrade. Dr. Valenzuela.
Thank you, President Reese, members of the board. And I'm going to begin perhaps a little unorthodox, just because I want to know. And I've been told, and maybe been told different things, hence why I'm asking. But I figured Mr. Bruno would have the answer. How old is that building, Mr. Bruno? The main cafeteria?
I love it.
Let's see, I graduated in 79.
Okay.
And when I was in sixth grade, we walked to the elementary school, to the cafeteria there. And so it was somewhere when I was in maybe the eighth grade. So that would put it at 75.
So it's a good it's 50 years old.
Yep.
And that, for some reason, I'd heard it was much younger, and I couldn't believe it, because it's been well taken care of and functional, but it does look like it's had a few tours of duty, right? And so it's part of the reason that, well, one of many reasons that I'm so grateful for the specialness of our community is that local investment and that support in our schools, which means in our physical facilities that we provide. Because although some of our buildings are about half a century or more old, the elementary you reference is now SPS, which is probably 60 years old or more. And although they're old, we want to make sure that they are first and foremost safe, and second, that they're modern and able to function and operate effectively for today, not for 50 years ago. And hence, this is a case here is, as you can imagine, perhaps maybe like a 50-year-old house, the wiring is in need of some updating, both to keep up with safety, but also to keep up with effective operations. The equipment they use is big and it requires a lot of electricity. And so in that spirit, through the utilization of our bond money, we requested, in acknowledging this need, the opportunity to make some fundamental basic improvements in the electrical structure of that building. Specifically, the lion's share of this, I think, has to do with those big circuit boxes, right? Those big circuit boxes that need to be replaced, and there's associated hardware. Because it's old and they got to go in there and kind of go deeper, we anticipate that there will be some other things that need to be done for this basic renovation. And so hence, if you look at the paper, like there's a number that looks like it's just shy of 45,000. And then there's 3 other buckets for 3 different breaker box machines, I think, that are varying from 14,000, 5,000, 16,000. So the whole request this evening, the guaranteed maximum price from CORE is $80,491. And one of the reasons I'm really grateful to CORE is that, as you know, and I know a lot of you are because you're involved in various programs on multiple campuses, CORE right now is everywhere. They are running everywhere on different campuses, and yet they've committed to do this project because it is a proactive safety goal and operational goal, and school is coming. They've committed, according to Scott, to try and get this done by the start of school. So pending your approval, they're going to jump on it and get it done as quickly as possible. And so I'm very grateful for that. And this evening, therefore, I would like to recommend the board's authorization and approval of the guaranteed maximum price for this GMP in the amount $80,491. Again, that's maximum price, which means it could, and I really believe likely will be significantly below that. But that's the amount, and I would recommend your approval of this GMP this time.
We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Mr. Bruno?
Knowing that the age of that building and that over the many years that building has been here, equipment has left that needed higher power requirements, and it went from basically a full-on cook everything kitchen to now a lot less. And as we replace and remove, will there be enough ability to, if a new piece of equipment comes in addition to what's there, that the circuit breakers and the new electrical wiring will be able to handle that additional, those additional units if needed?
Lizette, what would be your first reactions about that question?
So first, we do have updated equipment that we've been replacing it with. And that happens every about 10 to 15 years where we replace, depending on the equipment. Sometimes they break down faster, but the majority of it has been replaced. Of course, you always go with the higher efficiency, better equipment. But what happens is that because that cafeteria has grown since, 50 years ago, we weren't as big as we are now, and we're not functioning as many, we're producing a lot more food than we probably used to 50 years ago. We've had to increase our level of equipment just to be supportive of SPS, SIS, SMS, for both breakfast and lunch, and actually and the Link program as well. So I know that there's been more added equipment, better efficiency, but there's been more. And my understanding in speaking with Scott was that it would be able to not only take on what we currently have, but if we needed to change or add or modify, they would have the capacity. The current structure just doesn't have the capacity at this time.
And the only thing I'd add to that, Mr. Bruno, is that if you notice on this item on the agenda, after the statement GMP Central Cafeteria Electrical Upgrade, it says hyphen phase 1. Because to your point, this is the first of the next, because really the goal with all these projects is to establish systems for the future. So that, and the thing is, we all know that whether you're talking technology or capacity or even structure of educational programming, it's changing so fast that even if you think you're ahead of it, you're not. And so to not look ahead would really be detrimental in this time of rapid change. So to the extent that we can see, as far as we can see, and we can afford, that's exactly what we're trying to do. Your point spot on.
Thank you. And that would have been my next question. What was phase 2?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's to be identified later.
BD.
All right. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We will move on into the consent agenda. Dr. Valenzuela.
Yes, ma'am. President Reese, members of the board, you do have a somewhat robust list of items that are considered consent and may be considered in one motion. And I do recommend this evening the approval of the consent agenda in its entirety.
We have a recommendation. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The one possible future agenda item we've already talked about would be the sort of an overview of 301.
Prop 301.
Then we will establish, does any other board member have any other possible future agenda items they'd like to see come before us at a meeting? Okay. We will establish our next board meeting on August 13th here in this pod of the district auditorium. There is no executive session this evening, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Discussion. Seeing none, no discussion. We'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Speed speaking.